welcome everyone to GunnerKing's Court. We've got a few guests today lined up to discuss a number of transfer stories. Curran from Ball Over Passion, good to have you on again.
Nice to see you, man.
And we've got Canners from our show on the Armoury TV. Curran, do you want to just quickly can find you?
Yeah, the Twitter's right there at cc_BOP2, and the channel is Ball Over Passion. I've just started a couple of months now, and it's going well. Thanks for having me on again, GunnerKing. Appreciate it, man.
No, all good. And yeah, you've got, obviously Canners is resident member of the Armoury TV.
Yeah.
And yeah, today we've got a number of stories, both good and bad, I guess, that we wanted to go over. So I think, yeah, the first one that we wanted to have a look at was definitely this one. Is that coming up?
Is it?
Yep.
There we go.
My internet has been issues, yeah. So is that on the screen now, yeah?
Yeah, it's on the screen, yeah.
You're just taking it down now.
Yeah.
Oh,
there we go.
I can't see it on my screen. That's the problem.
Okay. No. Yep, I can see it.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Yeah, Newcastle are looking to push a deal through for Joe Willock. There's been a lot of talk of whether it will be a loan or, you know, sort of a straight out purchase. Some people are talking about a loan with an obligation, as everybody is here. I mean, I'm not too keen on letting go of Willock, but I mean, it'll be good to obviously kind of get your guys' thoughts on any potential deal that we do with Newcastle. Who wants to go first?
I'll let the resident go first. You go first, mate.
Okay. I've got mixed feelings about this, to be honest. If I'm gonna be honest, I would like to see how he integrates with the team, you know, and see how he does during pre-season. The thing is, I think his omission from the squad on what is it, Tuesday against Hibs might be an indication really of what Arteta has in mind. My only concern is that he does what he did at the back end of last season, and he does it on a more regular and consistent basis during the season for Newcastle, and we miss out on something here. If it's a loan, straight loan, I'll be happy with that. With an obligation to buy, I'm not so keen on that. I want him to play as much as possible. I don't think he will play as much as possible with us, and with Newcastle, he will get that confidence and that playing time. He's young. He's still learning his trade. He's nowhere near, you know, he's nowhere near his peak, I believe. And I think it's something that we should be smart with this. With Willock, there's definitely something there. But right now, we need something quite immediate. We need something in midfield that we know can actually do a particular job. And I'm not 100% sure that Willock right now can do that. So send him on loan to Newcastle, see how he goes in, you know, this time next year, and take it from there.
I mean, for me, I mean, it's very clear. I've always said that sorry, Chris, are you gonna go or?
No,
I think Chris is lagging.
But yeah, what I was gonna say is there is a clear role that you could have for Joe Willock in this team, and it's disappointing because I really wanted him to stay this season. Because if you look at our team, Mikel's clearly wanted to set up in a 4-2-3-1, and if you're chasing a game and you need a goal, you can bring on Joe Willock, change the formation to 4-3-3, and he can be that trigger off the bench, and you can actually have him play and actually give us more goals from the bench and in our midfield itself. So I'm really disappointed in this move. I assume it's because, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I assume because he wasn't too keen on coming off the bench after his spell on loan, which I completely agree with. I mean, I've said on other people's channels, I don't think we should be selling for less than 45-50 million for Joe Willock. I rate him that highly. He's someone in terms of youth, in terms of the talent there's and Premier League experience now. You shouldn't be selling him. But in this current climate, I had a thread on it earlier on Twitter. The 3 highest deals of this window so far are Buendia for about 35, rising to 40 million. PAXTON Daka, which is 25 million, and Koundé, which is Konate for 36 million. These are the highest deals. This isn't like the medium, like in a normal window last year or the year before. That's an average price. This is the highest, right? And obviously Sancho's yet to go through, and that's obviously going to break the ceiling. But when it does get announced and completely confirmed, that's obviously going to be the one that everyone talks about. But the general signings, like the trend is around that 35 to 25 million bracket is the highest people willing to go for your Buendias, that sort of level of player. Even with the Ben White deal, which we're going to come up with in shortly, if you look at the deal that's being proposed, it's a 35 million in upfront fee and then 15 million over the duration of his contract. So this idea that selling multiple players, like for example, if Ainsley goes for about 15 to 20, or Xhaka goes for about 20, or which I've been told is about 20, like the prices, we need to have a bit of a conversation about where the market is at the minute, because it's a buyer's market, it's not a seller's market, and we need to sell a lot of players. And that's why the price isn't it's not where I want it to be, but I'm not as concerned about it. Whereas if it was like 2 years ago, I'd be saying we're in the mud, what we're doing. But at this moment in time, I'm not too bothered about the price. It's just the fact that I would prefer him to stay, honestly.
Would you not think a loan? No, would not.
I mean, I understand the thinking behind a loan. It's just that there is such a key role that we need in the team, goals off the bench, and I think that he is perfect for that. I just think that he's not willing to accept that role, and I completely understand. I mean, I go back and forth with one of my mates, George, on the show. I prefer a 4-3-3 and he prefers a 4-2-3-1, and that's why I love Willock, because he gives you that 8 role. The only way I'm accepting this, like, I'm not obviously going to accept it, but the only way I'm happy about this is if we go for a Maddison or someone of that ilk, someone that we know can bring goals to the club, or an Aouar or something like that. But at the moment, it's just like I need to see some movement. I need to see something going on, because at the minute it's just a bit slow, and it's understandable why.
Yeah, I think in terms of Willock, for me, I've wanted him to stay as well. I've made no secret of it.
Mm-hmm.
I've thought that he's not really been given proper chances. I think it's a stat pad when people look at the number of games he's played and then say, well, he's had his chance, because they don't look into how many of those games were consecutive games involved the same role. It changed and stuff. And yeah, he went to Newcastle and he showed that when he's given game time and when he's given the confidence, knowing that he's going to go into the next game, what he can bring to the team. And it's just odd that we're trying to shop around for midfielders. We're looking for players with Premier League experience, and we're looking for players that will help us hit the English quota. Here we got a guy who ticks all those boxes, and we're happy to loan him out. It just seems a bit strange to me. If we are going to loan him out, I want it to be.
It's the profile for that.
He's gone. He's gone. He'll come back.
He'll come back. Yeah.
I think what I wanted to say was that there was a spate a couple of seasons ago in Europa and even some in the league where he got his chance. I feel that he got a chance where he was playing a number of consecutive games. And for me, I don't think he quite fulfilled his promise.
No, me neither.
And that for me was kind of like maybe premature or whatever, but just thought to myself, he needs to go out on loan in a Premiership for a good season, play week in, week out, experience that, the pressures of a game. Because the thing is, we're still a big club. There's still, enormous pressure on us to succeed, etc. And the thing is, for him, Newcastle's listen.
Nope. We're having some difficulties. I mean, while the guys come back, I'll quickly explain what I wanted to say about Joe Willock, and it's quite clear we need to bust this myth that he was starting at Newcastle. Had massive amounts of minutes. He did play consecutive games, but there was a lot of sub appearances, and he did actually have a role off the bench. It wasn't like he started games. He was a super sub, as it were. He came off the bench and he did well for them. And when he did start games, he did very well as well. But we're talking about the majority of his goals came from a bench role. And I just think that he's going to want to go to another level and start starting for a Premier League club. I really hope it's not an obligation to buy. I hope maybe it's an option to buy, and we can bring him back, because I think that next season, I've been on record to saying this is our transition season to 4-3-3. I think we start 4-2-3-1, defensive security, and as the season goes on and as Arteta coaches the 4-3-3, we'll move to a 4-3-3, because I think that's where he wants to go. And the profile of players that we have right now are not 4-3-3 players. So we'll see what happens. I just think it's a bit weird.
I definitely think he can play as an advance 8 in that 4-3-3, but I think he could either play as kind of a deeper line 8 or a 10 in 4-2-3-1 as well, with the right person in the 4-2-3-1 next to him. That person would have to be very solid defensively and would probably hit a block.
That's a big responsibility for him.
Yeah, I don't think he can play in a pivot, which is the main reason why I think he's on loan now. I think going on loan. I think that's just.
I think in terms of those circumstances where you were talking about, where you want to change a game, say you've started the game with those two pivots, say Lokonga and Partey. If you want someone that's a bit more offensive from that deeper lying position to change a game, then by all means you could put Willock there, and tell him to kind of push a bit further forward. But
then that's not really a pivot, mate.
More naturally in a 3, definitely the top.
Yeah, he's going to play in a 3 because if he's in a pivot, the defensive security isn't there. So you're going
100%.
If you're gonna he's going to, even if you say play in a pivot, he's going to naturally go into a 4-3-3.
Yeah,
he's not going to drop back as much as you want.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
How he can break lines with his passes from that area and also carry the ball forward from that kind of deeper area in midfield. It's just something different, really. But I definitely agree. Like a 4-3-3 would be more suited for him. But I don't know. I would rather it was just a loan for his development with no obligation or no option.
Yeah, I'll be totally for that, for a loan, for him to be playing week in, week out. I was saying to Karen just before I got disconnected, for him to be playing week in, week out, get the pressures of first team football, in a team. And look, Newcastle, by rights, it's a big club, basically. It is a big club. In terms of support, it's pretty much like a religion there, in Newcastle. And I think it would be good for him to thrive in that environment, and then hopefully he comes back brimming with confidence, learned, had a good year in the Premiership and learned a lot for him, and that will benefit us. I really do think it's invaluable for him to do that.
The other thing before we move on from Joe, I know you've got a lot to talk about, but the last thing I want to say is what I always preach in these transfer windows is do not trust anything until you see something on the website. Just don't trust it. Why? Like I don't trust the Sun, the Mail, the Mirror. I don't trust Twitter. I don't trust anyone. When it's on the website, I'll believe it. Because all these terms and all this rubbish that comes out, oh, it's an obligation to buy, oh, it's an option to buy, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. Unless you're in that room and you're the one signing the contracts, you don't know. Okay, people feed information to try and get leverage in these deals. It's done all the time. So let's calm, wait for what happens with the announcement, and then once we know what's happening, like the Saliba thing, people said for weeks, it's an option to buy. Nowhere on the website it said there's an option to buy. It's just nonsense.
We've removed that.
So I mean, I don't want to get into Saliba stuff, but it's just an example. Like just stop trusting people on Twitter, and stop trusting people that are just telling you whatever they've been fed, because the people who are feeding them have an agenda. It's very, very simple.
Of course.
So please don't be naive enough to believe these guys, seriously. Even the journalists, everyone.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's something to be very mindful of when we're looking at these transfers. And yeah, I mean, I stayed calm. I even took a few days just away from everything after the England game. So yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely important to remember. But yeah, I mean, looking at another story which has been dragging on, which I think is very close to completion, or very close to having some end result, is the Ben White situation. It's clear that he wants to move. It's clear that that him, his camp, Arsenal, and are working towards a move. Brighton are obviously holding out for a price that they see matches that of the defender, and are looking to maximize the valuation that they can get for him. Talks are ongoing on the fee, but personal terms are agreed, and everything that I'm hearing is to suggest that it's positive. I was hearing some people talking about the deal having fallen apart altogether and stuff like that. And look, it's not a small deal. It's £3 million, with add-ons. The guy's just been at the Euros with England, so he's going to go on holiday. So yeah, he can still negotiate. But if I'm on holiday, do I want to be on the phone to my agent every 5 minutes trying to sort out a transfer? No, I want to be doing what the hell it was I went on holiday to do in the first place, which is enjoy my holiday. So yeah, it's going to cause some complications. It is what it is, but I expect the deal to be done. If it's not, we move on to different targets. But everything I'm hearing suggests that we are going to agree a fee with Brighton. I mean, it's more about, again, how the deal's structured than the actual kind of final fee as well. Although I think there is an element of that, agreeing on the fee as well. I think they're very close on the fee, but I think there's elements of the structure that they're trying to hammer out as well. I think, I'm just sitting tight and waiting to hear that confirmed. I expect it to happen.
Look,
in all honesty, I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
The White stuff is quite clear. I mean, the deal's been done for, I would say, about 2 weeks now. The whole situation with the Euros has obviously delayed it. The man needs a holiday. Let's be real. And now that you can see that now, I mean, Saliba's gone out now, and we can now bring in someone else. I think we're doing a very much a one in, one out kind of policy. Guendouzi went out. Guendouzi went out, and Thingy came in. Lokonga's coming in. Now Saliba's gone out, and now White can come in. I think we're trying to reduce the amount. We're not trying to add people to the squad without sending out people, and I think now is the situation where we're going to be starting to see a lot of players out, because the Euros is over. People are coming back, and you can see that there's an urgency now. That you can see with the Xhaka stuff, that there seems to be some movement on that. I don't know, I can't remember if we're covering it, but if we aren't, there is some movement on the Xhaka stuff. Back
into the fold now, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a case of just this is it. This is the time, and I will be laughing a lot when a lot of these doubters are proved wrong in this window. I'm not even gonna front about it. Like, cause I've been saying it for months now. Literally, it's going to be a massive window.
That's it. I think yeah, like, you know, whenever there's an international tournament, it just causes complications. It's just the way it is, you know, because usually players go on holiday straight after, you know, sort of the league ends, and then, you know, they come back and they want to wrap things up. I think I'm not fussed with Ben White. I think it will get done. What I'm seeing with the way that we're doing business, and I did on yesterday's show, James, we have lined up, I think, at least 2 to 3 backup targets for every position that we're trying to sign. And you can see that talks are happening between those players' representatives and their clubs, either through back channels or directly, to have like the next person they can go to in the event that there are any complications. And yeah, I think you'll definitely see now, you know, things picking up. I think I mentioned as well, in terms of like the Hibs game and looking at the starting lineup, to go on to what you said about players going out. I mean, I look at some of those guys that started, you know, Willian, Kolasinac, Bellerin, you know, we started Nketiah, Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Who else did we start in defence?
There was a young debut as well in the centre. Was it Clark?
Yeah, no,
Clark. Yeah.
The players that I was talking about were players that have been linked with a move away.
Okay.
Yeah, you mean
so
in a shop window.
So Bellerin obviously came on. Willian, AMN, Cedric,
Cedric as well.
Kolasinac, Nketiah, and Lacazette.
Yeah. You know, so effectively, you know, if we are going to get rid of those players, actually we're putting them in the shop window. You
By the way, Willian, fellas. Oh God, Willian. Oh, it was painful, man.
He's literally now.
He doesn't give any. He doesn't care, man.
Yeah, he's actually teething a living. He's teething a living right now. He's got a great contract, and he doesn't need to do anything.
It makes like I can see a plan with this club, but I can't defend it. I can't defend that. How do I defend that?
I think that was a big mistake.
That is a mistake. That's a massive mistake. I don't think
they'll be doing that type of profile of transfer in the very near future. However, I did notice that they did actually go for Ramos, which was quite bizarre.
Oh man, they did it. It's just me.
I don't know.
I'm telling you, fam, there's no way. There is no way. Just to put our names in people's mouths. I'm telling you, there's no way.
I don't know, but going back to Ben White, listen, transfers are done in a totally different way today than they were yesteryear. Me as a player, if I was a pro footballer, I have an agent. I tell an agent, look, this is how much I want. I want to go, and this is how much I want. You deal with all the other T's and C's with my contract, but this is my basic that I want to take. That is pretty much what, you know, the conversation between the player and the agent. The player doesn't really talk to the club. Maybe he might have had a phone call from Arteta or whatever, but the world is a small place right now, right? Everything can be done over Zoom, phone, old school, whatever. So Ben White, he can go off on his holidays. Nothing's going to stop the transfer happening and in the wheels in motion or whatever. So I think all what's happening right now is that, yes, Brighton might be haggling over a few kind of T's and C's in terms of payments and whatever. But that deal will get done. There's nothing in the sense that the player is holding anything up.
No.
And I like, and that goes for all other transfers as well. I don't think it matters now whether or not a player is
on a holiday or whatever,
or with a Euro camp or whatever. All it is basically a quick conversation with the agent. This is what I want. Go and sort that.
The best example I can give is Lukaku to United. Do you remember him and Pogba were in that villa together chilling?
Yeah.
And Lukaku was like, "Bro, it's done."
Yeah.
Like, it's a perfect example of
it. Exactly. So all it is, the agents will sort, unless they don't have an agent, which they'll be in the absolute minority. They can go off and do whatever. The only time they really have to be someone is once it's all that bit of paper it's done, then it's medical, and then the signing, perhaps the photos or whatever. But that though, teams don't really mind prolonging that unless it really kind of goes into the program they have for them for pre-season. But if you look at the likes of Bukayo Saka and all the players that were on international duty, they've got a time frame of when they're going to be on holiday and when they're going to come back. And it's the same thing. So those players like Ben White are not going to come back until Saka comes back from holiday as well. So it really and truly, the photos or whatever it is, that the actual signing might not happen until Saka does come back from holiday. That kind of period of time. So we might still be waiting for a bit of time, but I'm not distressed or worried about the transfer happening. All the right noises are coming out. So
I'm seeing a lot of panic happen, especially on football Twitter, man. It's crazy. Like, I mean, Lokonga, for example, right, and Tavares. Lokonga's actually in London at the moment. He's going through quarantine. I think he did his medical, but then because of COVID, you've got that additional quarantining period, which you have to stay in before you can do like the last steps, which is the medical and actually signing the contract.
But do you think that is actually a thing? Do you think that's actually?
I can clear this up. It's quite simple. So
100%.
when you travel,
do the medical on your own. You need physio staff to do all the stuff with you. So you've got to quarantine before you do that if you're coming from red state countries.
Not even red state, orange state as well, man. Basically, with the whole quarantine situation, what you have to do is you have to do what's called a day 2 and 8 test. But if you are so basically after you come, you do a test on day 2, you do a test on day 8. But you can, if you want to pay a bit extra, do what's called a day 5 release test. So you take a test on day 5, and that releases you. So tomorrow is the 5th day since he's been here. So I posted this earlier on Twitter. I think tomorrow is the kit reveal, ESR announcement, and new kit number, and Lokonga deal announced. I think tomorrow is going to be a proper big day. I've told my lads at the channel we have to be at it tomorrow because it's going to be a pretty busy day tomorrow. I think tomorrow will be a big day. I think Ben White will be next week, and then from there we move. We'll see. But I think tomorrow is going to be definitely a big day.
I think as well, with like the board, I think they've wanted it that way. They've wanted to like kind of create a bit of fanfare around announcements. Like, why announce one thing when they can like make multiple announcements at the same time? If I was trying to win back favor from a fan base, that's exactly the sort of thing I would do.
It's all PR.
I mean, they've timed it to perfection. I think they've aligned things properly, and you can see with the if you've seen the kits at ESR at training, he's like holding his number on it over his hand over his number and things, and he's basically playing it to the camera like, oh, what's happening. It's basically just basic PR to try and raise the profile.
100%.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm quietly confident that things will get done. I think the wheels are turning and things are starting to crank up somewhat. So I'm quietly confident.
I think after maybe Ben White, I think as Corin said, we're going to look at some players that we can move out because we don't want to bloat our squad by bringing people in.
Just one thing. Did you know Mavropanos has gone?
Yeah, he's gone.
I didn't know he had gone for $3 million. He only went for $3 million.
Yeah, he's gone. He's gone with a loan obligation to buy.
There's also so they paid a loan fee, and then there's an obligation fee, and then there's also like some sell-on clauses.
Right.
There's other clauses as well.
We're getting smart now, which is good.
Yeah. There's other clauses as well that can make it go up significantly. So I'd expect him maybe in a few years to probably be on the move from there. I mean, I wanted to keep him as well.
He was
but
decent. I think,
yeah.
you know, from what I saw of him playing when he was on BT Sport and stuff, some of the games, he was decent.
But yeah, I mean, moving on to this story that I've only just caught wind of earlier today, and I don't know what everyone's thoughts are, but I can just tell you right now, I'm just not for it at all in the slightest. Not any of that.
Yeah.
Is anything I'm happy to read at all. We should have learned by now, that we don't need to be taking Chelsea's cast-offs. They're a rival. We don't want to be strengthening them. And Lacazette as well, I really think that if we extend his contract for a year and have him working with the younger players, I think we stand to gain more from that than worrying about protecting Lacazette's value. Because the way in which the younger players around him will develop, you can't put a 10 or 15 million pound price on because they need experience. We've got, if we look at the age of the team, I think him and Aubameyang are the only two players that are going to be left over age 30.
Yep, it sounds about right, actually. I mean, we don't have a lot of people in that sort of age range.
I'm all for reducing the average age, but leaving one person above the age of 30 who hasn't had his best season by any accounts in Aubameyang, and selling Lacazette, who did have one of his better seasons, and fits Arteta's system a bit better. We need to fix other areas of the pitch. I don't really think that, yes, goals were an issue, but I don't think it's because of the goal scorers. I think it's because the goal scorers not getting service.
I mean, I said something about this a bit earlier. Yeah, if it's a case where we fix everything else, I'm more than happy to get him. And I disagree with this comment. 100% disagree with this comment. Danny Welbeck has scored 16 non-penalty goals last year, which is not a bad return for someone who wasn't played a lot. He's someone that he does have a clumsy moment, sure, but people have misread his gait for clumsiness. Like his gait is not something that would need to be worked on, sure, but he's not Danny Welbeck. No way near. He's coming. He's not even at his prime yet. He's coming into it. It'd be like if we signed 2012 Danny Welbeck, like when he was starting to come into it, and he'd have much more of an opportunity. I completely disagree with it being anything like Danny Welbeck. I see the comparison. I just do not agree. In terms of the actual signing, though, it's a good signing. But you need people around him, though. You need other areas we need to sort out first.
I don't know. Me personally, the money that was bandied about, or the price tag, is for me can be better spent elsewhere than Tammy Abraham. I wouldn't be for this particular transfer.
I can understand that.
We got two strikers up top who can still find the back of the net, and I would put them before Abraham's actually, to be fair.
Would you guys want to keep Laka?
His potential ceiling.
If it was a choice between Laka and Tammy Abraham's, Laka all day. Me personally.
Really?
Yeah.
At the moment, yeah.
That's interesting. That is very interesting to me. Because, I mean, please explain. I'm
no, yeah. I just think Lacazette's all-round game is that bit more, is more suited to the way how we play the game. We don't play putting the balls into the box, i.e., high balls into the box or anything like that. I don't think Tammy Abrahams is good with his feet as Lacazette. I don't think Tammy Abrahams is prolific as Lacazette. The only thing I would say is that I'm not even sure he could hold up the ball better than Lacazette either, because Lacazette showed this season he can actually do that with his back to goal. That for me really kind of surprised me last season. And with regards to, I think the only thing maybe that Abrahams has over Lacazette may be aerial presence. But apart from that, right now I wouldn't. Right now, I wouldn't swap Abrahams for Lacazette for Abrahams.
What I would say is Abraham is better with his feet than people give him credit for.
Yep.
But he's decent. But I mean, if you've watched what Lacazette was doing against Hibs, still,
he
had a good performance against Hibs. Yeah, completely agree.
I think we definitely do lack a target man, and we do have good crosses of the ball. I think if we look at the first game against Spurs when we lost, that game had Tammy Abraham written all over it, because the amount of crosses in the second half we were putting into the box,
100%.
Aubameyang and Lacazette couldn't get on the end of, because that's not their strength. I see where they're going, where it's like we're looking for a profile of more of a target man, someone with a bit more of a physical presence up front.
But would you put him as a £40 million player?
I just think for Abraham, because he is English, because he is coming from an English club, because he's coming from Chelsea, who are a club that don't need to sell, they're going to put a premium on. We're probably going to pay 40 to 50 million pounds for it.
If they're going for Haaland, they need to get some money.
Sorry, I don't like to think about I don't like to bother or concern myself with what us buying a player would do for another team. But we can't forget that this is a rival. And this is a rival that is the closest or can probably have a claim to being the dominant club in London at the moment. This will put 40 to 50 million pound in their hand to go out and get Haaland. Yeah,
exactly. Now, here's a question.
The other thing is as well, very quickly, if you look at the strikers we've looked at this summer, we could have had Andre Silva, who some of his ability is very similar in profile to an Abraham. He is taller. He does have prowess in the air. He is a lot more physical, and he only just cost Leipzig 30 million euros. So it's I'm all for paying the premium for English players, but I just don't want it to be this one. I just don't.
I feel if some club like Chelsea is a rival, as you say, and rightly they are, would a rival give us their best players? Allow us to buy their best players.
For me. Let me just quickly say this before you guys go on. With the Tammy Abraham situation, we've always said, if you guys remember the old Arsenal, and I know people don't really like going back but we always used to have 4 strikers that had different profiles. As a striker, you need to be able to have profiles that can adapt to different game states and adapt to different defenses. So we used to have Armoury and Kanu. We had Bergkamp, Wiltord, these kinds of players, right? We used to have a multitude of different profiles at striker, and that's what you need to start thinking about. You can't have.
They weren't different profiles. And what I would say is,
Wiltord and Armoury definitely weren't the same profile. Mate, come on.
Well, Bergkamp and Kanu were probably the one behind the front striker, and both Armoury and Wiltord were probably
a bit further up, for sure.
Exactly. I get what you're saying. Sorry to jump in. Carry on, Corin. Sorry.
No. That's what I was saying. I was saying a bit. I was agreeing with you, but But what I was trying to say is, it's high time we need to realize that as attackers, you can't just have a regen of 3 different players. You need a variety of people to go forward, and actually, because defenses aren't all the same. Sometimes you'll play a 3 at the back, sometimes you play a 4 at the back, sometimes you'll play one with a bit of a slower defender, or someone with a bit more pace, someone who doesn't read the game as well. Defenses aren't the same. You need to be able to adapt to different defenses.
I'm definitely all for the 4 strikers thing, because you can play back our content where I've said that, when I'm playing manager games or football games, 4 strikers is the number. Traditionally, you want someone who's a bit more physical. You want.
But with our system, do we need that many strikers?
Not in a 4-2-3-1. I think if we're playing 4-2-3-1, then we need 3.
I would say anyway, regardless, you should, because I think what I usually have, it would be look at Martinelli, right? Martinelli and
That's
Greenwood.
It's a
And
very
look
good
at
point because we haven't brought
if
up
we
Martinelli.
if we look at Martinelli and Greenwood, they are young players that are developing in the wide areas, but it's widely accepted that one day they are going to go on to be nice players. So that quote taken up by he's probably going to play more, if in Greenwood's case, more on the right than they are actually going to play up front. But that is part of a development process to make them a striker. Then the other three players are actual kind of your traditional number nines. You know, at the moment we've got a Balogun, we've got a Lacazette, we've got a Aubameyang. So Aubameyang's the most natural finisher. You know, he's the most clinical of all of those. Lacazette is he's a good finisher, but he's got kind of that link-up play as well. He's got that ability to bring other players into the game. He's got a bit more of, I would say, a presence, like physically speaking, than Aubameyang has. You know, and then Balogun, I really see as being having that ability to develop either way.
Look, Balogun is the complete 9. Okay,
yeah,
he's someone
exactly.
you can.
He's
He literally
Andy Cole
is
kind of player. Yeah,
Andy Cole. Even obviously not as big as Alan Shearer, but that kind of mold where you can literally do anything.
Yeah.
He's someone that can play with his back to the goal, great with either feet, great with his head. Someone who can drop deep and pick up the ball. Someone who can get in the box and hit and poach your ball. I think people really are looking past Balogun. I think he's probably actually going to probably be the second striker next season.
This is another reason why I'm against Abraham, because it's like, well,
that will stifle him.
I mean, you got the only reason we disagree here.
Rounded and complete striker that would have the qualities that Abraham already has. Maybe not to the extent Abraham has, but you know, he does possess the ability to be good in the air. He does have good feet. He's not slow, because Abraham isn't slow either. That's another thing. No.
He's rapid.
I'm not trying to dig out Abraham at all. He is a decent player. I just think for what we have in Balogun, albeit a bit more raw and unpolished, we don't need Abraham, you know, because
I think the reason we guys disagree on this is because I personally wouldn't mind selling Lacazette. I think that is the. I think that's the difference here, because I think Lacazette he's a great player in terms of hold up, in terms of bringing kids together. He's a good mentor, and he's someone in the squad that is obviously a senior figure, and he has performed on times. But I just do not see the consistency to be a striker for Arsenal and Lacazette. I would
actually agree with you. I agree with you with that statement in terms of consistency. I mean, to me, he arguably had his most consistent season last year.
Yeah. I just think it's a bit too late right now.
Too little, too late.
That did come with more game time, more trust, and a system that was more suited to his strength. So it's now a question of, are we now? I mean, there's so much at Arsenal that is wrong at the moment. You know, to take the one thing that was probably not as broken, you know, i.e. Lacazette's goal return and his contribution to the team.
No, but even with that, how many goals do you get?
We're, you know, a lot.
But didn't he score 16, and that's like one of his best seasons?
17.
Yeah. 17. Come on, lads. Are we really? Do you not see it?
A lot of people look at that goal record, A lot of people look at that goal record, and what they do is they don't ration it out with the number of games he's played, because he isn't a striker. Like, he was in the top 10 for strikers last season in the Premier League. And if you look at the number of appearances that all of the top strikers above made, they were playing 37, 38 games. And they weren't, most of them, they were starting more games. Whereas Lacazette wasn't starting as many, and some of those games that he played were sub appearances. I don't know the exact number.
Of course.
But if you look back at his previous couple of seasons, it's the same thing, you know. And so if you look at his ratio of goals for the number of starts he's getting, it's not bad, and it's actually up there.
Bad.
With the top
I agree with that, but I just think if you're not at this point going to get in the squad, if you're not going to get in the team at this point, then when are you going to get in the team?
His
You know
shot
what I mean?
conversion and the conversion of his rates of his shots that actually end up on target, again, up there with the top strikers in the league.
But I get the kind of I get the argument that yes, his stats last year were comparable. However, is he a player that's going to take us forward?
No,
And that's probably the question that we should actually now be, as Arsenal supporters, be kind of like asking ourselves. We need players. We need players that have some kind of longevity and that are going to take us forward. That's my kind of feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what I think that Arteta's trying to do, especially with the age of the squad.
I think it's all good reducing the average age of the squad, but literally, if we sell Lacazette, there is one player above 30. That guy's the captain.
I think that's a positive. I honestly think that's a positive.
I think it's too much. I think, in my opinion, it's
too much.
There's enough Premiership experience with and enough football experience though.
Dude, like if you look at this teams, right, there's usually 3 generations, right? So you've got those kind of 29 to 32, 33-year-olds that are on their way out, and it's not 1 or 2 players, there's a core group of them, and then you've got like kind of 29, kind of 25 to
24,
24, and then you've got the young players coming up. Like effectively what that's doing is having 2 groups, condensing the experience level of leaders and followers to 2 age demographics. And for me, I just think that's too much.
Look,
because
I'll be very clear with you, right? I mean, if you look at the signings we're going for, and you look at the profile of people, if you look at Lokonga's Anderlecht's captain. Okay, we're looking at people that are young but with leadership qualities. We're looking at people that are going to come in and adapt to the culture of the club. We're not looking for misfits. We're not looking for people. We want people that are going to come in and do a job at the level that they're meant to be doing a job at. And I think this whole thing about age, I mean, I understand, but I would prefer having correct profiles and leadership on the pitch. Everyone can be a shouter. Everyone can be a guy that pulls people in and does a big rah-rah speech. But can you lead on the pitch in a technical fashion? Can you provide? Can you change a game in the trenches when the game is close? Can you change the game?
I definitely think to look at that and answer that question though, to look at leaders or leaders from a technical perspective, especially in say defense, where a lot of that ability comes from experience, So when I put a threshold on age, it's not that I'm like older and I'm like, we must have like older players. It's just a byproduct of being Lacazette and Aubameyang's age is having a wealth of experience that comes with that. Having played.
Just one thing I just checked, right? Because sorry, Karen, you realise I'm bloody old. I am.
Yeah, so, I'm probably as old as you are, fam.
Yeah.
No, not quite.
Give if you can the 88-89 team that won the league.
Yep.
How old do you think the oldest player was?
If I remember correctly, it's I want to say 28 or 29.
It was David O'Leary at 30.
Yeah. Oh, 30. Okay. Yeah, David makes sense.
And that was the eldest player. And then, so it was pretty much, but it was Bold and Adams at the back, basically. And sometimes they include O'Leary. The squad was bloody young, man. Niall Quinn, 21. Alan Smith, 25. Rocastle, 21. Thomas, 20. And those guys played, and these guys were playing week in, week out. It was a young team, and I think, you know what, if Arteta gets it right, with the balance of the squad and the players, listen, and that's a key thing is that team didn't have Europe, and we haven't got no Europe. We can concentrate on domestic cups and success. Exactly.
I get what you're saying.
And I think this will be a great season for it. We don't need. We need experienced players, not necessarily age experience. If you understand what I'm trying to say.
I agree with what you're saying, but I definitely think that's like an exception and not a norm. to how you build a great team. Like for every team like that in '88 that I named, that you named, sorry, with an average, with the oldest guy being 30. I mean, PSG have just bought Ramos.
Yes.
And they've been successful.
Sometimes you're going to get an anomaly, and Ramos is a bit of a freak, to be fair.
But last season Chelsea got Thiago Silva. And some said he was past it, and we saw not only the difference in that opinion that he wasn't past it, but he was definitely raising the profile and the standard of the defenders around him by imparting that knowledge.
I totally get your argument, but I don't think it's totally essential.
I would say he was.
It's you know what it is. It's the change in system, GunnerKing. It's the change in system you have to look at as well. That if you look at because if you look at,
I'm not trying to say in isolation.
I know. I understand what you're trying to say, but you have to realize that there's more context to that system because under Frank they were playing 4-2-3-1 and it was porous at times. Let's be frank, and then no pun intended. But going to a 3-4-3, I mean, we've all seen the Pep quote, the wide and the narrow and all this stuff, but
Hello. Okay.
Hello.
I think we've lost Karen, right? You still there, King?
I'm still here.
Okay. I literally have to drop.
What happened?
Karen, we're losing you.
Hello.
I think
running back.
Can you hear us?
I'm back.
You're back. You're back.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there. I was. Yeah. Sorry about that. But,
I have to drop. I've been kind of like double booked as such. So
no worries, mate.
No. For me, it was a discussion which. Oh my god! Yeah, we could go on and on, but I'm going to let you continue with the rest of the transfers. King will catch up. Curran, I hope to see you I hope to share a panel with you.
Anytime, bro. Anytime, bro.
You take care.
Hope to see you soon, man.
Peace.
Yeah, and
peace, Curran.
I think on that note, we should wrap things up as well. I mean,
we for sure.
Discuss that for time. I think, I definitely, see what we're trying to do in terms of, reduce the average age. I'm all for that. At the beginning, way before the window, everyone was saying, why don't we get a Bertrand or the guy from Crystal Palace, Van Aanholt, as cover. And I said all along, we're better off getting a younger player with a potential ceiling, bringing them in. And we've done that in Tavares. And, I'm definitely for that with all our signings. But I just think the gradual phasing out process is what I favor.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we give Lacquer a year contract extension. He stays for another year. We're in the same position next year that we'd be in now, albeit he's a year older.
Look, let's be real though. The market is dry. Look at the Giroud deal. 1 million. 1 million for Olivier Giroud.
I mean,
it's a madness.
I mean,
1 million.
It's ridiculous. And people, I think the main thing that I want to hone in on, right, is, I've said it. I said the same with Lacazette and Willock, and it's not because I don't want to sell in players to raise funds. I can name 7 or 8 other players that we've either sold or that we're selling or that we could sell to raise more than enough money to not need to sell these 2 players. Yeah, and for me, that would be Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Kolasinac. We got rid of Guendouzi, Xhaka, Torreira. He's still around.
Yep.
People,
Maitland-Niles.
Nketiah, and even El Neni, maybe. Why not?
I think El Neni's got a season left in him, to be honest, because as a backup in that because if you looked at the Man United game as a key example of that, you need a partner. You need people around. Like at this moment, it's literally Partey and El Neni as our midfield, and I think going too far deep and gutting literally everyone is a bit of a mistake. And I think he is someone that you can rely on to do a job if you need him to do a job. So I think El Neni is probably in my, because I have I'm like you can ask George as well. Like we both have a sheet of every transaction we're going to be doing for the next 3 years. I have a plan that for the next 6 windows, and El Neni goes in my summer 2022. So he goes next summer, and then we bring in a different youngster who is Glenn Kamara from Marseille at the moment, who actually is funny. We're actually associated with now. I was saying this literally 3 months. Well, I was saying 3 months ago we should get him in a year's time, but apparently we're going to get him now. So it is what it is.
I've done a similar thing, and it's just with Lacazette. I put him in next summer's window myself as well. I think just purely because, everyone's looking at what we can get for him in a fiduciary kind of monetary sense, but I just think these youngsters that have come up, like Emil Smith-Rowe had an interview where he said Lacazette is the guy that is helping my game develop the most of all the players on the pitch. I'll dig up that interview, and obviously this is an important player that we want to develop. So you could look at it in a financial sense, but you could also look at it in the sense of what these younger players are getting from that guy and their development, how they develop into players from him staying there and being in the changing room. That increases their value. Well, that's how you're getting your money back. That's how you're getting your money's worth. You might sell it for a bit less, come a season. But if he's helped Martinelli, Smith-Rowe and Saka develop exponentially in the time that he stayed, well, their value increases. And then, you offset it that way. But, it is what it is. I think, it's been good to have you on, Curran.
Yeah, you too, man. I've linked to the thread I made today in the chat if people want to have a look on the state of the market right now, because I think people need to calm down a bit. But I just wanted to I've put that in the comments if you guys want to have a look. Just feel free. But it's been a pleasure, mate. Anytime you've got space, I'm more than happy to come on. No worries, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, check out Ball Over Passion's page. We've put the link into the bio section of this video, so you'll be able to follow those guys. Please subscribe to their channel. Check out their content. Top-notch stuff. Don't forget also to hit the like and the subscribe button for us as well. I'll be back tomorrow with another session of the court. There's another section now that I believe Canners is going on with a few other guys from the Armoury TV with Paxton Road. Would you believe, Curran, that Paxton Road want to debate over who is a better player, Ndombele or Partey?
Oh God. Who have you got on this channel? Like, what?
I don't know, man. But
bro, that's sad. That's just sad.
I know.
That's really actually sad.
I know.
Oh God.
I'm literally gonna get the popcorn out now and just
go for it, bro. Send it to me on a DM. I need to see this, man.
Absolutely.
For God's sake.
It's been good to have you on as always.
It's been good to be on, man.
And I'll catch everyone up very soon.